Hey, welcome back to the story of Dora, a young woman whose heart had never truly known love. Dora clutched the university acceptance letter, a bittersweet triumph, in her calloused hands. Joy warred with the crushing weight of reality. How could she possibly afford tuition, books, and childcare while still providing for June and Destiny? The dilapidated zinc shack felt even smaller, its walls closing in on her dreams. A weight of responsibilities threatened to crush her newfound hope. She saw the faces of June, her mother, and Destiny, who was now 3 years old, and that gave her the strength she needed. Weeks turned into a frantic search for solutions. Dora worked tirelessly, squeezing every last drop of profit from her market stall. She swallowed her pride and sought help from Elder Manuel, who, with his limited resources, offered what he could, a network of contacts and unwavering moral support. Then came the whispers, the murmurs, of Destiny's father. Reaching Dora's ears, people, some genuine, others opportunistic, suggested she reconsider Leo's involvement. The child deserves to know her father, they'd say, conveniently ignoring Leo's past cruelty. A proposition came that tore at her soul. Elder Manuel, along with a delegation of women from the community, approached Dora. They spoke with gentle urgency, highlighting Destiny's right to know her father. They pleaded with Dora to consider allowing Leo to be involved in Destiny's life. Dora was resistant, her heart hardening at the mention of Leo's name. How could she trust a man who had so callously denied Destiny's existence? But one particularly persistent advocate was a kind woman, a social worker, who genuinely cared for Destiny's well-being. She painted a picture of a child growing up with questions, a void that Dora, no matter how strong, couldn't fill alone. "Think of Destiny, Dora," she pleaded. "Give her the chance to know her heritage, to have a connection to her father's family." They all emphasized the practical benefits for Destiny. Dora was torn. The thought of Leo having access to Destiny filled her with a primal fear. She remembered his violation, arrogance, his scorn, his denial. Yet, she couldn't deny the potential benefit for Destiny. Finally, after sleepless nights wrestling with her conscience, Dora made a decision. She would allow Leo access to Destiny, but only under strict conditions. A compromise forged from desperation and a flicker of hope. It was a bitter bargain, a transaction that left her feeling hollow and conflicted. She sought out Leo's mother, Madam Oma, now a stern but seemingly fair woman. Dora knew Madam Oma adored Leo and likely knew nothing of his cruelty towards her. "I will leave Destiny in your care," as pleaded. "Madam Oma," Dora declared, her voice trembling with a mixture of defiance and desperation. "I need to focus on my education, but Leo must contribute to my university fees. That is my condition for him seeing Destiny." It was a gamble, a painful cooperation. She was effectively selling her daughter for an education, a future. But deep down, Dora believed that a better educated, more stable Dora would ultimately be the best thing for Destiny. And maybe, just maybe, Leo would finally be forced to acknowledge his responsibilities. Madam Oma, who eagerly wants access to Destiny, happily agreed to the terms. She saw this as an opportunity to repair the fractured relationship and to ensure her granddaughter had a better life. Leo, initially resistant, grudgingly conceded when faced with the prospect of losing all contact with Destiny. His arrogance still present, he saw it as an easy way out, a way to keep up appearances without truly changing. Saying goodbye to Destiny was the hardest thing Dora had ever done. She entrusted her daughter to Madam Oma's care, clinging to the promise that she would see Destiny every weekend. The image of Destiny waving goodbye, her innocent eyes full of trust, haunted Dora for weeks. With Destiny safely in the care of Madam Oma, Dora threw herself into her studies. The weight of motherhood lifted, replaced by the even heavier burden of expectation. Every lecture, every assignment, was a battle fought, driven by a relentless determination to build a better future for herself and Destiny. Leo, forced to comply, contributed to Dora's tuition fees, but his presence was a constant source of discomfort. He would occasionally visit her home, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and arrogance. He seemed to be trying to reconcile the broken girl he had abused with the intelligent, ambitious woman she had become. But his pride often got in the way. He would make snide remarks about her humble beginnings, reinforcing the deep-seated insecurity she desperately tried to overcome. Then, a devastating blow. Her father, Ali, suddenly reappeared after years of absence, looking gaunt and weary. His short return had been plagued by illness, a consequence of years spent chasing fortune. Only 2 returned, empty-handed. He had gambled everything away, leaving him with nothing. Dora, despite the resentment she harbored for his abandonment, couldn't turn him away. Dora nursed him as best as she could, her heart breaking as she watched him withered away. There was little money for proper medical care. Then, with good networking, got a job as a part-time teller in a collection point. The office building was a stark contrast to the crumbling shack she called home. The sharp scent of money and power filled the air, a constant reminder of what she lacked. Dora worked tirelessly, her days a blur of work and studying during stolen moments. Sleep was a luxury she could barely afford. Nights filled with studying and caring for her ailing father. The pressure was immense, threatening to break her spirit. But Dora refused to succumb. She remembered Destiny's face, her mother's frail smile, and the burning desire to escape the shackles of poverty. Ali, remorseful and ashamed, watched his daughter struggle. He saw the fire in her eyes, the unwavering determination that he himself had lacked. He tried to make amends, offering words of encouragement, but his health quickly deteriorated. One cold morning, Dora found Ali lifeless in his bed. The grief was a tidal wave, threatening to drown her, leaving Dora heartbroken and burdened with the responsibility of his burial. She organized his funeral, scraping together every last penny, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. She cried bitter tears. Despite the heartache and hardship, Dora persevered. She excelled in her studies, driven by a fierce determination to make her father proud, to prove her worth, to provide a better future for her daughter. Finally, graduation day arrived. Dora stood tall, radiant in her cap and gown. A first-class honors graduate, a testament to her resilience and unwavering commitment. A wave of emotions washed over her: pride, relief, grief, and a quiet sense of triumph. The joy of her achievement was amplified by the pride in Destiny's eyes. She made sure to visit Destiny and take her to the park and teach her schoolwork to the best of her abilities and provide extra lessons. Leo, watching from a distance, tried coming around, but Dora stood her ground. He saw Dora's success, but his pride remained intact. He still looked down on her, unable to fully acknowledge the depth of her strength and resilience. Dora, on the other hand, didn't let it bother her. She proved herself, not just to Leo, but to Destiny and anyone else in her shoes. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she had laid the foundation for a brighter future. Fueled by her success, Dora landed a good job. Leveraging her knowledge of finance, as a teller at the collection point, she started her own small business and steadily built a comfortable life for herself and Destiny. Slowly but surely, her business thrived, and she expanded her services. She rented a small but comfortable apartment for June, ensuring her mother was well cared for and lived in dignity. Destiny flourished under Dora's guidance and Madam Oma's loving care. She excelled in school, a bright and inquisitive child with a thirst for knowledge. Dora made sure Destiny had everything she needed, showering her with love and support. Leo remained a peripheral figure, fulfilling his financial obligations, but rarely engaging with Destiny on a deeper level. He was present, yet emotionally absent, a constant reminder of the pain and betrayal of Dora's past. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The scars remained, a reminder of the battles she had fought and won, but they were now badges of honor, symbols of her indomitable spirit. Dora was determined to break the cycle of abuse, to create a life filled with hope and endless possibilities for herself and her daughter, tempered by sacrifice, fueled by determination, and illuminated by the unwavering love for Destiny. She refused to be defined by it, built a life of purpose and fulfillment, proving that even the deepest wounds can heal, and that a heart shattered by abandonment, abuse, and betrayal can indeed learn to love again, stronger and more fiercely than ever before. Subscribe, and see you in our next video.